April 7, 1945. Over the skies of Okinawa, a lone Japanese Zero pilot spotted an approaching American fighter. He knew the odds were against him. This was no ordinary adversary. It was the P-51 Mustang, a machine that had become the ultimate symbol of aerial dominance in the Pacific. To understand how this happened, we must go back to the early days of the Pacific War. In December 1941, the Japanese Empire launched a series of devastating attacks across the Pacific, including the infamous strike on Pearl Harbor. Their initial successes were staggering, largely due to the superior performance of their naval air arm. At the forefront of this aerial might was the Mitsubishi A-6M Zero fighter. Agile, fast, and possessing an incredible range, the Zero quickly established air superiority over Allied forces. American pilots flying older, less capable aircraft, like the F-4F Wildcat and P-40 Warhawk, found themselves outmatched in many respects. The Zero's maneuverability at lower speeds and its ability to outturn almost any Allied fighter made it a formidable opponent. Japanese pilots, many of whom were veterans of the Sino-Japanese War, were highly skilled and confident, having honed their tactics in real combat. This combination of advanced aircraft and experienced pilots allowed Japan to sweep through the Pacific, establishing a vast defensive perimeter and inflicting heavy losses on Allied air forces. The early months of the war were characterized by a desperate struggle for survival for American and Allied airmen, who often had to rely on hit-and-run tactics to avoid direct dogfights with the nimble Zeros. The psychological impact of facing such a superior adversary was immense, and the need for a truly competitive fighter became increasingly urgent for the United States. The United States entered the war with a diverse but often mismatched array of aircraft. While the P-40 Warhawk was a sturdy and reliable fighter, it lacked the high-altitude performance and speed to consistently challenge the best German and Japanese designs. The P-38 Lightning, with its twin engines, offered impressive range and firepower, but its complexity and maintenance requirements made it less universally adaptable. The F-4F Wildcat, a naval fighter, was robust and could absorb significant damage, but its speed and climb rate were inferior to the Zero. As the war progressed, the strategic landscape demanded a new kind of fighter, one that could fly long distances, protect bombers deep behind enemy lines, and still possess the speed, altitude performance, and firepower to dominate aerial combat. The early air campaigns in Europe highlighted the desperate need for such an aircraft, as unescorted bombers suffered catastrophic losses. The Pacific theater presented an even greater challenge due to the vast distances involved. Islands were separated by hundreds, sometimes thousands of miles of open ocean, making long-range escort an absolute necessity for any sustained bombing campaign against Japanese strongholds. The existing American fighters simply could not meet this critical requirement, leaving bombers vulnerable and limiting the effectiveness of strategic air power. Into this critical void stepped an aircraft that would redefine aerial warfare: the North American P-51 Mustang. Its journey to becoming the feared Cadillac of the skies was not straightforward. Initially designed for the British, who sought a new fighter for their Royal Air Force, the P-51 was a private venture by North American Aviation. The prototype, the NA-73X, first flew in October 1940. Early versions, powered by an Allison engine, showed promise but were not revolutionary. It was fast at low altitudes, but its performance dropped off significantly at higher altitudes, limiting its effectiveness as a high-altitude interceptor or bomber escort. The British, however, saw potential in its aerodynamically advanced laminar flow wing design, which reduced drag and promised high speeds. They pressed for its development, and the early Allison-powered Mustangs, P-51A and A-36 Apache dive bomber variants, saw limited but successful use in ground attack roles and reconnaissance. The true transformation of the Mustang, however, would come with a critical engine change, a decision that would elevate it from a good fighter to an exceptional one, fundamentally altering the balance of air power in both the European and Pacific theaters. The true genius of the P-51 Mustang, the element that transformed it from a capable but unremarkable fighter into an aerial legend, lay in the marriage of its sleek airframe with the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. The British, recognizing the Allison engine's high-altitude limitations, suggested fitting the Mustang with the Merlin, a supercharged V12 engine that powered their Spitfires and Hurricanes. This seemingly simple modification, first implemented in the P-51B and C variants, was nothing short of revolutionary. The Merlin engine, with its two-speed, two-stage supercharger, provided a dramatic boost in power at high altitudes, where most strategic bombing missions were conducted. Suddenly, the Mustang could climb faster, fly higher, and maintain its speed at altitudes previously dominated by enemy fighters. This new power plant unleashed the full potential of the Mustang's aerodynamically advanced laminar flow wing, allowing it to achieve speeds exceeding 440 miles per hour, making it one of the fastest piston engine fighters of the war. Its exceptional speed and climb rate allowed P-51 pilots to dictate the terms of engagement, choosing when and how to attack, and more importantly, when to disengage if the situation turned unfavorable. Beyond its raw performance, the P-51 possessed another critical advantage: its incredible range. Early American fighters in the Pacific were severely limited in their ability to escort bombers over vast distances. The P-51, with its internal fuel tanks and the addition of external drop tanks, could fly for over 1,600 miles, providing escort to bombers on missions deep into enemy territory. This capability was a game-changer, particularly in the Pacific, where targets like the Japanese home islands were thousands of miles from Allied bases. For the first time, American bombers could strike distant targets with the assurance of fighter protection, significantly reducing their vulnerability to enemy interceptors. This extended range was not just about reaching the target. It was about staying with the bombers throughout the entire mission, engaging enemy fighters, and protecting the bomber crews on their perilous journeys. The psychological impact on both bomber crews and enemy pilots was profound. Bomber crews, previously resigned to facing enemy fighters alone, now had the comforting presence of Mustangs flying alongside them. Japanese pilots, on the other hand, found their interception tactics severely hampered by the constant presence of these long-legged escorts. The Mustang's armament was also formidable. Equipped with 650 caliber M2 Browning machine guns, 3 in each wing, it delivered a devastating punch. The 50 caliber round was known for its stopping power and range, capable of tearing apart enemy aircraft with a short burst. This heavy armament, combined with the Mustang's stable gun platform, made it a deadly adversary in a dogfight. Pilots could unleash a torrent of fire, often disintegrating enemy aircraft with just a few well-aimed shots. The M2 Browning was a proven weapon, reliable and effective, and its integration into the P-51's design ensured that the aircraft was not just fast and long-ranged, but also a potent weapon platform. Furthermore, the P-51 was designed with pilot comfort and situational awareness in mind. Its bubble canopy, introduced in later variants, provided unparalleled all-around visibility, a crucial advantage in the chaotic environment of aerial combat. Pilots could spot enemy aircraft sooner, track their movements more effectively, and maintain better awareness of their surroundings, reducing the chances of being surprised. This combination of speed, range, firepower, and pilot visibility made the P-51 a truly comprehensive and dominant fighter. The pilots who flew the P-51 were also a critical component of its success. Many were highly trained and experienced, having honed their skills in the skies over Europe before transferring to the Pacific, or having learned from the hard lessons of earlier Pacific campaigns. They quickly adapted to the Mustang's capabilities, developing tactics that exploited its strengths. They learned to use its superior speed and dive performance to their advantage, employing boom and zoom tactics, where they would dive on enemy formations, deliver a devastating attack, and then use their speed to climb away, avoiding prolonged, turning dogfights with more agile Japanese aircraft. This approach minimized the Zero's maneuverability advantage and maximized the Mustang's power and speed. The P-51 became a symbol of American ingenuity and industrial might, a machine that could not only match, but often surpass the best that the Axis powers could field. Its arrival in significant numbers in the Pacific theater signaled a decisive shift in the air war, turning the tide against the previously dominant Japanese air forces and instilling a deep sense of dread among their pilots. The introduction of the P-51 Mustang to the Pacific theater marked a profound shift in the air war, fundamentally altering the dynamics of combat and the morale of both Allied and Japanese airmen. Prior to the Mustang's widespread deployment, Japanese pilots, particularly those flying the nimble A6M0, held a significant psychological edge. They were accustomed to outmaneuvering American fighters, often dictating the terms of engagement. However, the Mustang quickly shattered this perception of invincibility. Its superior speed, especially at higher altitudes, and its exceptional dive performance meant that P-51 pilots could engage Zeros on their own terms. They would often initiate combat from above, using the Mustang's speed to make a devastating pass and then climb away, denying the Zero the opportunity to engage in a turning fight where its agility might have been an advantage. This boom and zoom tactic became the hallmark of Mustang pilots, effectively neutralizing the Zero's strengths and exposing its vulnerabilities, particularly its lighter construction and lack of armor. The P-51's long range was another critical factor that instilled fear in Japanese pilots. Previously, American bombers flying deep into Japanese-held territory were largely unescorted, making them easy prey for interceptors. The arrival of Mustangs, capable of accompanying bombers for thousands of miles, meant that Japanese pilots could no longer count on easy kills. This dramatically increased the risk for Japanese interceptors, who now faced formidable opposition far from their bases. The sight of P-51s flying alongside B-29 superfortresses on missions to the Japanese home islands was a demoralizing one, signaling that no target was beyond the reach of American air power and its protective screen. Japanese pilots, who had once enjoyed a numerical and qualitative advantage, now found themselves facing an adversary that could not only match but often surpass their aircraft in key performance areas. The Mustang's ability to operate at high altitudes also allowed it to engage Japanese fighters like the Nakajima Ki-84 Frank and the Kawasaki Ki-61 Tony, which were designed to counter the P-38 and other Allied aircraft. One of the most significant challenges for Japanese pilots was the Mustang's sheer speed and ability to disengage. While the Zero was highly maneuverable, it lacked the raw speed to escape a determined P-51. If a Japanese pilot found himself in a disadvantageous position, his options for escape were limited. The Mustang could simply outrun him or climb away to a position of advantage. This meant that every engagement carried a higher risk for the Japanese, as the Mustang's pilots could choose to fight or disengage at will, a luxury rarely afforded to their opponents. The psychological toll of this constant threat was immense. Japanese pilots who had been trained in aggressive close-quarters dogfighting found their traditional tactics rendered ineffective against an aircraft that could exploit their weaknesses with such devastating efficiency. The Mustang forced them to adapt, to change their combat doctrine. But often, by the time these adaptations were made, the tide of the war had already turned decisively. The P-51's impact was not just felt in direct combat, it also had a profound effect on Japanese air strategy and pilot training. The high attrition rates inflicted by the Mustangs meant that experienced Japanese pilots were being lost at an unsustainable rate. Replacements were often rushed through training, lacking the combat experience and skill of their predecessors. This created a vicious cycle. Less experienced pilots were more vulnerable to the Mustangs, leading to even higher losses, further depleting the ranks of seasoned airmen. The Japanese command struggled to find an effective counter to the Mustang, experimenting with new fighter designs and tactics, but often too little, too late. The P-51 had established an undeniable air superiority that allowed Allied forces to conduct bombing campaigns and support ground operations with increasing effectiveness. The fear of the Mustang was a tangible reality for Japanese pilots, a constant reminder of the overwhelming power and technological superiority that the United States had brought to bear in the Pacific. Its presence in the skies signaled the beginning of the end for Japanese air dominance and contributed significantly to the eventual Allied victory. The P-51 Mustang's arrival in the Pacific theater was a pivotal moment, fundamentally altering the course of the air war and contributing significantly to the eventual Allied victory. Its impact extended far beyond individual dogfights, influencing strategic decisions, demoralizing enemy forces, and ultimately helping to pave the way for the final defeat of Japan. The Mustang's ability to escort bombers deep into enemy territory, particularly the B-29 superfortresses on their raids against the Japanese home islands, was a game-changer. These long-range missions, previously fraught with peril for unescorted bombers, now had the protective umbrella of the P-51, drastically reducing bomber losses and increasing the effectiveness of the strategic bombing campaign. The sight of Mustangs flying alongside the B-29s was a powerful symbol of American air power, a constant reminder to the Japanese that their homeland was vulnerable and that their air defenses were being systematically overcome. The psychological impact on Japanese pilots and ground crews was immense. The Mustang became a symbol of overwhelming American technological and industrial might. Japanese pilots, who had once dominated the skies, now faced an adversary that was faster, could climb higher, and possessed devastating firepower. The high attrition rates inflicted by the P-51s led to a rapid decline in the quality and experience of Japanese airmen. Veteran pilots, irreplaceable assets, were lost at an alarming rate, and their replacements, often rushed through training, were ill-equipped to face the formidable Mustangs. This created a downward spiral for the Japanese air forces, as their ability to defend their airspace and project power diminished with each passing day. The fear of the Mustang was not just about its combat capabilities. It was about the realization that the tide of the war had irrevocably turned against them in the air. The P-51's legacy is multifaceted. It proved that a single-engine fighter could achieve strategic impact through a combination of speed, range, and firepower. Its design, particularly the laminar flow wing and the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, influenced subsequent aircraft development. The Mustang's success in both the European and Pacific theaters cemented its reputation as one of the greatest fighter aircraft of all time. It demonstrated the critical importance of air superiority in modern warfare and the necessity of long-range escort for strategic bombing operations. The P-51 was not just a machine, it was a testament to American engineering, a symbol of Allied determination, and a harbinger of the eventual victory. Its presence in the skies over Japan signaled the beginning of the end for the Japanese Empire's aerial ambitions, forcing them onto the defensive and severely limiting their ability to project power or defend their vital interests. After the war, the P-51 Mustang continued to serve in various air forces around the world, a testament to its robust design and enduring capabilities. Many were sold to other nations, and some even saw combat in later conflicts. In the United States, the P-51 was gradually phased out of frontline service as jet aircraft became the dominant force in military aviation. However, its legend only grew. Today, restored P-51s are highly prized by collectors and regularly participate in air shows, where their distinctive Merlin engine roar and sleek lines continue to captivate audiences. The pilots who flew them, many of whom became aces, are remembered as heroes who helped secure victory in the skies. Their stories and the story of the P-51 itself serve as a powerful reminder of the courage, innovation, and sacrifice that defined the aerial campaigns of World War II. The Mustang remains an icon, a symbol of aerial excellence, and a machine that truly changed the course of history. The P-51 Mustang's contribution to the Allied victory in World War II, particularly in the Pacific, cannot be overstated. It was the right aircraft at the right time, filling a critical void in Allied air power and providing the decisive edge needed to overcome Japanese air superiority. Its speed, range, and firepower, combined with the skill and bravery of its pilots, made it a truly formidable opponent. The fear it instilled in Japanese pilots was a testament to its effectiveness, a fear born from countless engagements where the Mustang consistently proved its dominance. This fear was a psychological weapon, as potent as its machine guns, eroding morale and crippling the Japanese ability to fight effectively in the air. The Mustang's legacy is one of triumph against overwhelming odds, a machine that not only helped win the war, but also inspired generations of aviators and engineers. Its story is a powerful reminder of how innovation, combined with human courage, can fundamentally alter the course of conflict. This is the true legacy of the P-51 Mustang. Not just the numbers of enemy planes it shot down, though those are impressive, but the proof that even in the most challenging theaters of war, even when the enemy seemed insurmountable, a few determined engineers and courageous pilots can change history. One long-range escort at a time, one decisive engagement at a time. And in doing so, prove that technological superiority, when wielded with skill and unwavering resolve, is stronger than any initial advantage, stronger than any propaganda, stronger than any war machine.